Hi, everyone. I wanted to give you a quick update on what's going on in the Intuit QuickBooks world as of July 2024. And the reason I'm doing this is because so many things going on in the Intuit world and in the QuickBooks world. And there's so many news and so many changes, and sometimes it just flies us by. So I want to take advantage that it's summer, for most accountants, it's kind of a chill period to give you a quick overview of like all the things that are changing and happening and kind of my thoughts about that. So this is updates to the Intuit QuickBooks Online world, July 2024. Now, in this video, I'm not going to do any live demos. I'm not going to open QuickBooks. I'm not going to show you new features. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to talk about the QuickBooks world per se. So I'm warning you right off the bat that you're not going to see QuickBooks or any QuickBooks live demos or anything like that. And before we get started, I'm going to do a quick plug. I'm going to plug my weekly podcast, my quarterly webinar, and my annual conference. So I'll do that first. Then I'm going to do a quick stock price analysis because I think it's important in the backdrop of all these jumbled news, good news, bad news, all that stuff. I want you to see that Intuit's still a very strong company. So that's really important. Also talk really quick about a recent announcement. They laid off 1,800 people. And I believe the Intuit workforce is about 18,000 people. So that's 10% of the workforce. That's a pretty big chunk, pretty big number. And I'll kind of discuss on where you can get news about that and read more about that. Then I'll talk about QuickBooks Connect that's being rebranded to Intuit Connect. This is their annual QuickBooks conference, and now it's no longer a QuickBooks conference, it's an Intuit conference, and I'll tell you what I think about that. Then I want to discuss price changes. So QuickBooks Desktop Pro, Premier, Accountant are getting price changes. The Pro Advisor Desktop bundles are getting price changes. QuickBooks Enterprise is getting a fundamental change to the discount system. QuickBooks Desktop did get a mid-year new feature update. So that means that they're not necessarily 100% killing desktop. They're actually adding new stuff. So we'll discuss that. Then we'll talk about QuickBooks Online pricing changes. That's probably what's going to affect most people because most people use QuickBooks Online. There's like 5 million plus users on QuickBooks Online. And lastly, I'll talk about Intuit Dome and what has me excited about that. So let's get right to it. A couple of quick plugs. So first of all these links are going to be in the description of the video. So you don't have to, copy and paste from the screen or screenshots. I'll put all the links in the description so you can click on all these things. First of all, I have a weekly podcast. It's called the Unofficial QuickBooks Accountants Podcast. It's not sponsored by Intuit. My friend Alicia Katz-Pollock and I do a weekly deep dive on any QuickBooks topic, sometimes topical, sometimes newsworthy, and sometimes we go deep into a particular feature or a particular accounting rule that affects how you use QuickBooks. So if you're a big-time QuickBooks user, if you're a power user, subscribe to this podcast. It's audio only, so it's not going to be, you're not going to see any screen share or anything like that. It's all podcasts. So if you want to learn about QuickBooks stuff, QuickBooks World stuff, and you want to stay up to date, definitely subscribe to that podcast, the Unofficial QuickBooks Accountants Podcast. It's a weekly podcast. Second, I have quarterly QuickBooks update webinars. And in these webinars, this is all screen share. I actually show you every single new feature that QuickBooks has released in the past quarter. And I picked the quarter. So like the next one is going to be in August of 2024. And then afterwards is November of 2024 and then February and so forth. So I just pick 1 month of the quarter. And then that month, I'll go back 3 months and showcase every new thing that QuickBooks has done. Those quarterly webinars are recorded and they're posted here in YouTube. So if you've seen them before, you don't have to attend them live. But literally hundreds of people attend these live and they ask questions and they interact with me while I do the live recordings of these quarterly updates. So I love to interact with users and kind of like try to respond to some of their questions on the fly while I record this quarterly QuickBooks update webinar. So there's a link to that. If you want to register, you register once and you're going to show up to every single quarterly one if you want to. And if you don't show up, you'll see them in YouTube recorded after the fact. Those things are an hour and a half to 2 hours sometimes. I go pretty deep. And the last thing is I actually have an annual conference. This will be the second year I do this. Last year I had Reframe 2023. It was called Creative Business Models for Accountants. This year, Reframe 2024 is called Influential Conversations for Accountants. It's in October. It's in the Fort Lauderdale area. It's actually Hollywood, Florida, but you can get in through the Fort Lauderdale airport or the Miami airport. And the conference is going to be amazing. It's all about helping accounting professionals improve their communications with their clients, with their team, with their software vendors, so they can be more influential and they can get people to move. Accountants, we struggle getting our clients to do things, or getting our employees to do things, or getting our colleagues or our software partners to do things. So that's what we're going to explore in a 3-day conference in Fort Lauderdale, Florida in October 2024. Last year we sold out. This year we're probably going to sell out again. Check it out, reframe2024.com. So thank you for letting me plug. So before we get into all the sort of bad news, for some context, okay? Intuit is up 35% if you actually take a look at the stock price from a year ago up to the closing of July 16th, which is when I'm recording this. So financially, the company seems to be doing pretty good. July 31st is the end of their fiscal year. So at some point mid-August, they should release their full financials for the year. And I don't want to predict, I'm not telling you to go buy stock, but I'm pretty sure they're going to show really healthy profits, and Intuit is not hurting in any way, shape, or form. So I think it's important to mention that, because in the backdrop of pretty much everything that I'm going to say is going to feel like a sort of bad news, but it's not really bad news, it's just news. Okay, so I'm just kind of letting you know what's going on. So check it out. INTU, Intuit is the makers of QuickBooks. Check them out if you want to track them, if you invest, whatever. I'm not making any sort of advice here. I'm just letting you know, in the backdrop of this whole thing, the Intuit share is very, very healthy. First piece of news is the layoffs. So I believe around July 10th, they announced the 1,800 layoffs. There was a letter from the CEO to the employees that stated the reasons why it was happening. Inc. magazine had a, and I'll put a link to the article. Had an article saying that they really didn't like the tone of the letter, the words that were said. And the accounting podcast also had a really good episode, and I'll put a link to the description in the description to that as well, where they can analyze the whole communication strategy around these layoffs. I think whatever the reasons are, it doesn't really matter. Companies lay off employees all the time. They restructure, they get rid of employees that get paid too much, or get rid of employees that underperform. Whatever the situation is, the company made the decision to do this, and the stock didn't go down in price. Actually, it went up in price. Generally, when big companies do layoffs, that's cost saving. So they see that as a positive item into their profit and loss and their balance sheet. So that's not necessarily a sign of something going wrong, but they alluded a little bit to the role of AI. And I think that this was misunderstood or misconstrued. And maybe that's probably the reason. I don't think that 1,800 employees were replaced by ChatGPT. Like, that didn't happen. What may have happened, and this is just my take on this, is that Intuit wants to reinvest in the technologies of the future, and the money they're saving from the layoffs, whatever type of people, I don't know which people were laid off. I don't know if it's the support people, the salespeople, or the managers. I really don't know. There's no public list specifically on who got laid off. But I'm going to make the assumption that all those people that were laid off, all this money is going to be reinvested back into emerging technologies, and probably reinvesting into artificial intelligence, so they can make the product better. Not that they're going to replace the employees with artificial intelligence. So I think that's kind of the challenge, is that this stuff was just very misunderstood. And it was a PR nightmare. Like, for a couple of days, again, nightmare, quote unquote, for a couple of days, there was a whole bunch of articles. You just Google it, right? You'll see a bunch of articles, and they're all sort of all over the place. But long story short, I still talk to a lot of my contacts over at Intuit. The company seems very stable, even though they lost 10% of their employees. I believe many of their employees publicly stated, thank the company for the severance packages and stuff. So it's not like they left them out and dry. So Intuit has always been rated top 10, top 20 best companies to work for. And there's probably a reason for that. And a lot of these companies, when they lay off people, they don't just send them to the unemployment office. They give them time. They give them severance. So if you're watching this and you used to work for Intuit, and maybe I was wrong, go in the comments and obviously voice your side of the story as well. I have no issues with that. And I want to tell you, good luck. I think you'll be fine. You'll find another great job in another tech company pretty soon. I'm pretty sure there's life after Intuit. Anyway, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. Now, every year since 2014, I've gone to this place called QuickBooks Connect. It's the annual users conference. It used to be for everybody, for users, for vendors, for small business owners, for developers, for everybody that uses QuickBooks. It used to be called QuickBooks Connect in California. And then they moved it to Las Vegas and they made it accountant only. So it's only for accountants or accounting professionals. And they also rebranded it to Intuit Connect. So it's no longer QuickBooks Connect because probably most likely they want to highlight the other properties that Intuit has, like MailChimp, like TurboTax, like Credit Karma, that sort of thing. But based on their website, judging from their website, it's going to be mostly QuickBooks and MailChimp because they do want to highlight. They purchased MailChimp a couple of years ago for $12 billion. So it's not like MailChimp is a small thing. MailChimp is a big piece of the Intuit world. So the conference is going to be pretty much about those two things, about QuickBooks and MailChimp. So that's pretty exciting. Now, the part that I'm kind of bummed out about is that if you go to the website, intuit.com/Intuit Connect, and again, I'll put a link to the description on that, there's no actual button you could press to purchase tickets. Like you can actually click on join the waitlist and you fill in a bunch of information. And then I guess if they like you or if they approve you or if they can confirm that you're a QuickBooks user, because they do ask you for your QuickBooks Online Accountant Company ID. So it's almost like they want to verify that you are in fact a QuickBooks Online user. So that's pretty interesting. I wonder if that's going to be verified across the board to everybody. But in either case, it's just this invite only thing. It's pretty interesting. They do sell out every year, so it's not like they have an issue getting people. So I guess they figured by making it invite only, they can maybe control the amount of people that come or make sure that all their best users or their, I think probably best users is the wrong term to use, make sure that their users that are using QuickBooks Online, which are the ones that they want to target here, are the ones that they want to invite. I'm not sure. We'll talk about QuickBooks Desktop pricing and all that stuff in a second, but I just wanted to kind of highlight that there are some changes happening even in their conference. So this is more to come. This will be October in Las Vegas. I put myself in the wait list, so I hope that I go. It's not even for sure that I'll go or that I'll speak. I usually speak. I usually get a speaking gig every year. Anyway, so check it out, intuit.com, Intuit Connect. This conference is incredible. It's amazing. Put yourself in the waiting list if you want to come, and maybe they'll email you and maybe you can buy a ticket. Who knows? Now let's talk about price increases for QuickBooks Pro Premier. This is desktop, okay? So QuickBooks Pro users that are paying an annual subscription, if the renewals are after October 1st. So any renewals that happen after October 1st, 2024, they will renew at $9.99 per year. This is for the one user license. They will renew for $9.99 per year. And this used to be $649. So this is a pretty significant increase of the price. We're talking about close to 50% increase in price. So it's going to be a pretty big price shock for a lot of QuickBooks Desktop Pro users that paid $649 last time, whenever last time was. And then coming the annual renewal, they're going to see a credit card charge for $9.99. So make sure you let your clients know. If you're an accountant, let them clients know to expect that. Now, QuickBooks Desktop Premier for the one user, that's jumping to $13.99 from a previous price point of $9.49. So again, roughly another 50% price increase. Again, it's going to feel like a big shock to a lot of people because this is pretty big. Now, surprisingly, and this I find is very strange, QuickBooks Desktop Premier Accountant or QuickBooks Desktop Accountant is jumping to $1,200 from $1,000, which is kind of weird because Premier Accountant is actually better than just Premier. So I find it weird that this didn't go from like $1,000 to $1,500. For some reason, it only went to $1,200. Maybe this is so accountants are a little bit less impacted by this. I really don't know. This was kind of a weird move. It has not consistent anyway, but I'll take it. If you're using QuickBooks Desktop Accountant and you used to pay $1,000 a year, now you're only paying $1,200 a year. That's only a 20% price increase. So my take on this is they probably wanted to alleviate the cost for accountants specifically that are already on the Premier desktop accountant subscription. Now, if you're watching this and you're a Pro or Premier user, could you go out there and buy a new accountant subscription? I don't know. That's typically reserved, only sold to accountants. So I'm not sure what the conduit is for a non-accountant to purchase QuickBooks Desktop Premier accountant. Anyway, so let's talk about the Pro Advisor bundle. So actually, most accountants don't buy the accountant edition. They buy what's called the Pro Advisor bundle. There's a Pro Advisor bundle that includes QuickBooks Desktop Accountant that used to cost $7.99 a year, and that's going up to $9.99 a year. So that's about 25-30% price increase. And then some accountants get what's called the QuickBooks Pro Advisor Enterprise bundle that includes both the Accountant Edition and the Enterprise Accountant Edition. So it's actually two different versions that are not compatible with each other. It's still QuickBooks, but it's QuickBooks Desktop Accountant and QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise Accountant. Two different versions. That's going up to $1,600, increase from $1,300. So the Pro Advisor bundles are not as aggressive. See, the accountant approach, where the increasing pricing to accountants is not as aggressive as the end users, because clearly what Intuit's trying to do here, or what they want to do, is they want to move most of the end users to QuickBooks Online. It's super obvious how they're doing this, with the promotional pricing, with the increase of pricing of desktop. That's what they want to do. I think Intuit essentially very soon they wish there wasn't a desktop edition, that they could just support one version. And as a software enthusiast myself, getting into the software development world, I could tell you, yeah, it's probably a nightmare to support both desktop and online. It's just a lot of stuff that you have to have your support team have and the development team have. So I completely understand, that they want to kill desktop and move to online. I don't like it because I'm still a huge fan of QuickBooks Desktop, but I understand as a business decision why they would want to do that. So all these changes are being made basically point to that, to the eventual demise of QuickBooks Desktop. Not Enterprise, but or at least not yet, or QuickBooks Desktop. Now, specifically with QuickBooks Enterprise, you are going to expect to see a standard annual increases. That's normal. That happens every year. They have not posted a new price sheet. They usually do this around February of every year. So yeah, you will probably early 2025, if you're a subscriber of Enterprise, you're probably going to see the standard annual increase, which is between 5 to 10%. That's happened for the last 5 years, like clockwork. But the major change that's happening, and this affects me, because I'm a QSP, a QuickBooks Solution Provider. So I've been a reseller of QuickBooks products for a very long time. Actually, I've been highly rated. I've gotten many awards for being sort of top sales person or top sales team over at the QSP world. So I've been very involved with this program. And one of the major differentiators that we had as QSPs is we could sell QuickBooks Enterprise to our clients and offer a 20% discount for any 1 to 10 user licenses, or 12.5% discount for 30 user licenses. And this essentially was an evergreen discount. So once we offered this discount, our clients forever, every year that they renewed at whatever price it was, even with the annual increase, they get this fixed 20 or 12.5% discount. They have essentially killed this. We will not be able to offer this, I think, ever again. So basically, when someone needs to purchase QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise, they're going to buy it at the retail price, and that's it. What this does is it essentially almost kills the business model for a lot of QSPs, people like myself that sold QuickBooks Enterprise for a very long time, because we can no longer differentiate ourselves. Like, we tell people to buy QuickBooks. It's the same price as going into QuickBooks.com/enterprise or whatever the website is and buying it from there. We can still sell it at the MSRP and we still get a commission for selling it. But this is starting to slow down or trying to get us to slow down our enterprise sales. Again, with the same end in mind of forcing us to sell QuickBooks online. So that's kind of what's happening in that world. Now, with that being said, and with me saying, yeah, they're probably working towards killing QuickBooks Desktop, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they just released mid-year updates. So QuickBooks Desktop 2024 that came out October of last year, which is usually when all the updates show up, randomly in July, we saw a mid-year update. So all versions of QuickBooks Desktop 2024, Pro, Premier, Accountant, Enterprise, they're getting a search box in the class list. They're getting printable grid lines on reports, pretty cool features across all versions of QuickBooks Desktop. And on Enterprise only, they added two huge things. One is prepayments on estimates. They just released last year, or October of last year, in QuickBooks Enterprise 2024, they released prepayments on sales orders, which is an awesome feature. It works beautifully, flawless, actually a great feature. But it wasn't in estimates. So now they just added basically an improvement to that feature where you can collect prepayments in both sales orders and estimates. And it's a really cool workflow. I love it. I'm very happy with it. And they also released a new report, an inventory turnover report that shows all sorts of really valuable information about your inventory items. And you can see the history, and you just have much better visibility if you're an inventory driven company. So again, surprisingly, July of 2024, they released mid-year updates. So effectively, they're signaling that they're not killing desktop, or at least not that fast anyway. They're still supporting it. They're still adding new features. Now let's move on to QuickBooks Online pricing updates. That's probably what's going to affect most people. So starting October 1st, any new renewals of your monthly QuickBooks Online subscription, if you're on Simple Start, you're going to start paying $35 a month. That used to be $30. If you're in Essentials, you're going to start paying $65 a month. That used to cost $60. So both of those, Simple Start and Essentials, are getting a flat $5 price increase. Now, QuickBooks Online Plus is going from $90 to $99. So that one's getting a 10% price increase. Pretty interesting. So percentually, they're very different. And QuickBooks Online Advanced is going up from $200 a month to $235 a month. So eventually, it's a pretty simple range of pricing. QuickBooks Online costs between $35 a month and $235 a month, basically making a $200 gap between the lowest version and the highest version. So kind of strange how they did it like that, but it makes sense. It's easy to remember: 35, 65, 99, 235. Weird that three of them end in 5 and one ends in 9, but go figure. What can you do? I guess they figured instead of making it 95, make it 99, so they can expand the revenue to the maximum level without making that QuickBooks Online Plus a triple-digit pricing. In either case, you can purchase QuickBooks Online with my link. I have an affiliate link that gets you 30% off for 12 months. So if you sign up prior to October 1st, you get the $30, $60, $90, $200 price point and 30% off for a whole 12 months. So they'll protect that pricing prior to that price change. And if you purchase it after October 1st, it will be the new pricing minus the 30% off. One thing that's really important is if your QuickBooks is on a promotional price, or if you bought it in the last couple months and you're in a 6-month discount or 3-month discount or 1-year discount, even after October 1st, the pricing shouldn't affect you because you're in a promotional price. So this is only for accounts that are past promotional pricing. And promotional pricing typically is only first 3 months all the way to the first 12 months. That's usually the most you get on promotional pricing. There have been some exceptions in the past, 2-year and 3-year programs, but most of those are dated by this point. So anyway, so if you're going to buy QuickBooks Online, a new subscription, a brand new subscription, use my link that's in there in the screen. I'll put it in the description as well. And you get 30% off for 12 months. And the pricing depends on whether you sign up prior to October 1st or after. Last thing I want to talk about is Intuit Dome. This is actually pretty interesting. The Los Angeles Clippers, the basketball team, is getting a new stadium. This new stadium is a $2 billion construction project that actually was recently, I'll just kind of play it in the background while I talk about it. I was watching this drone footage and it just looks incredible. It looks outstanding. And I think this is probably going to be the most high-tech high-end, newest basketball stadium in the country. Probably going to be the most high-tech stadium in the country, period. And it was very cool that Intuit bought the naming rights. So now every time somebody watches a game at Intuit Dome with the LA Clippers, they're going to see the Intuit name. So you're going to see Intuit probably doing a lot of marketing in basketball games. So this is how they're getting into basketball games. I'm a big baseball fan, and I'm seeing Intuit, QuickBooks, MailChimp, Credit Karma being pushed all over the commercials on the baseball games as well. So, and in the last couple of years, you've seen TurboTax with the commercials in the Super Bowl. So Intuit and QuickBooks and Credit Karma and MailChimp, all their properties are hitting this sports games and advertising in the sports games quite a bit. So it's kind of cool to see, Intuit and QuickBooks World stuff in sports. I'm a big fan of sports, so it's kind of cool to see them on TV, raising awareness of it. Our clients are, now start knowing that Intuit is the makers of QuickBooks. So it's pretty interesting. So anyway, I just wanted to give you that quick update. Hopefully this is useful. Hopefully, you'll click on all the links that are in the description. I'm gonna put links to everything there is. My podcast, the articles that talk about this, my annual conference. I'll put links in the description for everything so you can explore further. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.